Hello, hello. How's it going, all of you beautiful people around the world? My name is Ryan, aka Blackbeard TCG. Hope you guys are all having an amazing day, and if not, hopefully I can make it a little bit better. Now, look, in today's video, we gotta talk about the boogeyman. We gotta talk about why everybody plays Whitebeard, and ever since Whitebeard's introduction to the One Piece trading card game, he has been an absolute menace. And has evolved over time, in fact. If you take a look at his inception, his introduction in OPO2, being the only leader up until now even to boast a stat line of 6,000 power along with 6 life, he is a leader that at first people were playing him as Boatbeard, using his stage card in OPO2. It was a little bit inconsistent, but when it high rolled, when it hit right, it felt like it was unstoppable. And then afterwards adapted to Strawbeard, utilizing the very, very powerful Straw Hat engine, the very powerful Straw Hat cards, in conjunction to Whitebeard just being a very powerful leader and can generate advantage very easily, made for a very potent deck, and shoutouts to Cross AI for really putting it on the map over here in the West. On top of that, introduction to OPO3, guess what happens? The deck gets more support and it creates the first ban list. Yes, some of you guys may not know because some of you guys might not follow the format overseas, but this deck was so powerful that this ban list for the One Piece card game had to be created. Moby Dick had to be banned because with the introduction of Izo, yes, a card that is ultimately going to end up being 5 cents, this was the piece that allowed this deck to become tier 0, meaning that if you were not playing Whitebeard, goodbye, you were going to lose. It was a deck that was extremely powerful, but more importantly than that, it was extremely consistent, and that was thanks to Izo being able to search for the boat. It was all about Moby Dick, right? In OPO2, Moby Dick never had the ability for you to reliably see it every single game. You know, you could mulligan, obviously you have cards in your life, hopefully you'll be able to hit it and play it. But with Izo, you know without a doubt, every single game you play, you are seeing one boat. And that's all you need. You only need one boat. So Moby Dick gets hit, right? Cool. People think that Whitebeard lost a step, right? Now you lose the ability to get that OP card Moby Dick and be able to pop off with it. Well, very quickly people realized that Whitebeard is still going to be one of the top decks and in contention with Zoro. I hate to say it, but Zoro's still up there in OPO3. So why is everybody playing Whitebeard? Why Whitebeard of all leaders? Well, of course you look at the stat line that he boasts, right? 6,000 power, 6 life, which is great. And then when you read his ability, and it seems like a downside at first, but very quickly people realize that this is actually an upside because you're basically drawing 2 cards every turn. The reason why everybody plays Whitebeard is really because it's super straightforward and easy to play. I know a lot of people would argue that piloting Zoro is more difficult than Whitebeard. And it's kind of funny because at the beginning, people just said, oh yeah, Zoro's turn your brain off, Unga Boonga, just play. But I am willing to argue, and I think a lot of people would argue that Whitebeard is a lot more focused on that, whereas Zoro takes more skill to play. If you face a Unga Boonga Zoro and you face a more methodical Zoro, you will feel the difference within the gameplay, 100%. And again, if you guys face people like that, you will know where I'm coming from with this. Zoro is pretty much a skillful deck. I don't want to say it takes an immense amount of skill, right? Like I would still say it's maybe even more difficult to pilot Trafalgar Law in comparison, things like that. But Zoro isn't as Unga Boonga as people think, whereas Whitebeard, quite frankly, especially back when it was Boatbeard, brain off. This version of Whitebeard, still pretty much brain off. It's a very simple deck to pilot, and when you're going through a long event, you want to save as much brain power as possible. You want to play something simple that can get you results, and Whitebeard can do that. It's a deck that's extremely consistent and does what it's supposed to do. You have a ton of tools to play defense, with red being the most overpowered color in the game in my opinion, and in a lot of people's opinion, and having some of the best events in the game, such as Guard Point, which is really good, but Radical Beam. Radical Beam is a card. Having access to Radical Beam that synergizes with it so easily. Again, it has Otama, it has Diamond Jozu, it has all these counters. You feel like you can't get over it. The defense is immaculate. And then on offense, having 6,000 power on offense is obviously going to be amazing. But then you have vanillas that you're going to play that have high stat lines. Even with or without the boat, these vanillas are very strong. And then on top of that, say you don't want to play a vanilla and you want to go ahead and play cards with effects, you got to deal with things like 5-cost Marco. You got to deal with things like 9-cost Whitebeard. The offensive prowess of this deck is great. The board control is great with things like Seaquake and Otama and all different types of combos. If you want to splash in a Vista and have a little bit more board control, you can play any style that you want with Whitebeard and it will be good. Whitebeard is just an extremely consistent, powerful offensive and defensive beast, and that is the main reason why everybody is playing this deck. So with all of this being said, I'm very curious about your guys' thoughts. Why do you guys think everybody plays Whitebeard? Do you agree with me with the fact that it's a more simple deck to play while ultimately being extremely consistent? And do you think that this is a deck that will stand the test of time until, well, I guess I shouldn't say the test of time, until there's a big power creep, because we all know that eventually that's what happens. I mean, if we take a look at the OPO4 meta right now, of course, Whitebeard is still there as we discussed, but we're starting to see a lot of things like Law, who is, hey man, I can make a video on Law a little bit later, but we're seeing Law, like I talked about earlier, we're seeing Rebecca, we're seeing Film Do Flamingo, we're seeing Queen, we're seeing Rob Lucci being able to do some stuff along with Sabo support as well. So it's very interesting to see how the meta is really shaping up. And do you think that with the addition of OPO5, it'll just continue to get more and more diverse and we'll see less Whitebeard? Or do you think that over time we're still just going to consistently see Whitebeard, kind of like how we consistently seen Zoro up until now? Very curious about your thoughts. Let me know in the comment section below, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.